Investing in modern Pokemon is a sham. What's up, everybody? This is Spanky, and the title, when I just said the intro is supposed to be a little rage baity and clickbaity. Just trying my best to get people engaged a little bit, but I do stand by it. I do think that collecting modern Pokemon, investing in it, is not a good investment. I think right now it's a good time to get those things that you held on, those things that you've had for only 5 years and already tripled in value. Right now is probably a really good time to unload and not take that big risk of waiting for the market, because eventually the market is going to fall and hopefully the market will pick back up. But you don't know. And there's a lot more stable things that you can invest your money into and build your money into that are stable. And when the time comes, you're able to liquidate that, such as like stocks. I mean, even I can't even think of the name right now. Residential properties, and just things like that. That'll be a lot more safe investments. So to begin, I'm gonna go with something that I heard recently. It's when everyone is being greedy, you should be afraid, and when everyone is being afraid, you should be greedy. Right now, obviously, everyone's being really greedy. Pokemon's being sold out in stores all the time. The company cannot keep up with the printers. It's going flying off the shelves. And another part of that too is that by greedy, everyone is holding on to their sealed products. So there was a time when we were kids and we were all collecting Pokemon, kind of similar to the market we have now. I mean, it was just so much of it. Kids loved it. They couldn't get enough of it, and it was flying off the shelves. But back then, most people, 99% of people weren't privy to the fact that, hey, if you keep this stuff sealed, it's going to be worth 10 plus K dollars. Now, everyone's being greedy, and they're all thinking, if I keep this sealed, it's going to be worth 10K dollars. And I just don't think that trend is going to continue with modern investments, because everyone is doing it. You got people like Rudy from Alpha Investments who's got pallets, and he's not going to be the only one. I'm telling you, there are probably thousands of people out there with distributions or some type of money who have pallets of Pokemon cards sealed, ready to sell, and ready to hold on to. So what are you going to do as Joe Schmo if you have 10 of this sealed product and they have pallets? Because everyone's doing it now. I mean, it's not. And then once you have pallets and you have those, how are you going to liquidate that? Because back then, people didn't have pallets of Gen 1 Pokemon, Wizards of the Coast sets. Like, people weren't holding on to it like they are now. And so those things are very limited. They're very rare and very hard to find. 10 years from now, Pokemon 151 sealed is not going to be hard to find. All this modern investments, all these Scarlet and Violet and stuff, it's not going to be hard to find sealed 10 years from now, because everyone's holding on to it. You're going to have some, everyone's going to have some. So who are you going to sell it to? And I'm telling you, I'm trying to sell action figures and comics right now. I have a bunch of action figures I'm trying to sell. It is not easy to liquidate large sums and large stocks of your collection. It's hard to find buyers. It's hard to negotiate with buyers. It's not hard, but it's easy but not simple to sell hundreds of items on eBay, especially if you're not someone who does it on a daily or who does it regularly. If you come by and like, hey, I want to sell, like 10 years from now, you want to sell your 100 boxes, your sealed collection, that takes a lot of time and process to even do that, if you even find buyers. Like I said, I think the market's going to get flooded with steel products, so I don't think it's going to be worth as much as it is now. I think right now the market's really high, and now is a really good time to sell your stuff and kind of just you don't have to sell everything. Just things that, if you have stuff that you want to open up in 10 years from now, even if it's not going to be worth a lot, you're going to have fun opening it. I think that should be kind of the main game plan of what you're doing. And a lot of this does apply mostly to modern. I think the old stock of Pokemon, the Wizard of the Coast stuff, I think that's going to stay valuable. But I think a lot of this new stuff, eventually it's going to fizzle out. So the market of nostalgia, did I say that right? Nostalgia is really big right now. The things that we enjoyed as kids, Pokemon, obviously, here's the main topic of discussion. That market it's everything. It's cards, comics, toys. I mean, the video games now are getting really big, and now we're all grown, and now we have disposable income, and we're spending on nostalgia to relive those childhood moments and relive that childhood stuff, and we just have money to do it now. But what about the kids in the future? Are they going to have the same nostalgia feeling for Pokemon cards that we have now? That's kind of one of the things that we're betting on when we keep these things sealed, is that the future generations are they're gonna want this stuff. They're gonna want to open it. They're gonna want to buy it. They're gonna want to put it on their shelves and collect it the same as we do. But I think that's a big gamble, though, betting that my 6 and 3-year-old are going to want to open up Pokemon 151 20 years from now. I don't think my son, who's 6 years old, has the same experience I did when I was 6 years old. I was a little bit older, or opening Pokemon cards. Because you can't find it, so there's no excitement for him about it. He does like the show and everything. He hasn't gotten to playing the games yet. He hasn't gotten that cognitive ability, I guess you could say. He's 6. He doesn't want to play it yet. But I think it's a large bet to think that if you're holding for a long-term investment, that, man, I'm going to be 20 years from now, my son will be 26, and I'll be over 50. And to think that 26-year-olds are going to want the same things we want if I'm holding on for a long-term investment, I think that's a big gamble. And not to forget to mention, we are heading into a very digital world. Everything, comic books, video games especially, cards even. We've seen cards or TCG Player Online. Things are going digital. So you gotta wonder, are kids who are then going to be adults 20 years from now, are they even going to want physical media? Are they going to want physical cards? Are they going to want these cave rooms? Or is it all just going to be some type of VR thing? We don't know. And it's a big thing. But you know what's going to be around? The stock market will still be around. People still be investing in other things like that. And I know Pokemon is outperforming the stock market right now, but there's a lot that goes into it. Just because something is outperforming the stock market, just because your Charizard first edition is outperforming the stock market, I can literally take a stock worth $100,000 and sell it right away, get my money, taxes, whatever, but I can do it right away, relatively quickly. You take a $100,000 Pokemon item and try to find a buyer, is going to be very difficult. It's not going to be as easy. It's not as liquid. That's another issue with obviously investing in Pokemon, is the liquidity of it. Another thing that concerns me is that we've seen these collecting trends before, where everyone goes in and they think that their item's going to be worth a lot. Noticeably, comic books and sports cards back in the 90s. This market that we're seeing in Pokemon before has happened before back in the 90s with those two markets, where you had rich dentists coming in, buying up all the cards, buying up all the comics, thinking that 20 years from now they're going to pay for their kids' tuition, and now those things are completely useless, and not useless, but worthless. Do I think that Pokemon will ever go out of business or go even as low as like Marvel and DC has, and just their market value is going to... I don't think Pokemon's going anywhere. I mean, make that clear. I think Pokemon's the most profitable company, or IP, whatever you want to call it, ever, and I think it's going to stay that way for a long time. There could be something new, but I think Pokemon's going to be here just as long as Marvel and DC. I think it's made its mark. It's staying around, but that doesn't mean its products are always going to stay valuable. Comics were big during the big movie hype, the MCU, and they saw a big hype. Every time a TV show came out, that comic was now worth 10 times more than it was, and now it's all coming crashing down. Back in the 90s, that was a little bit different. It was a big hype, but it crashed quick. I mean, these things, they peak and they crash. They peak and they crash. So if you still want to be in Pokemon and you think I'm crazy, one thing I would suggest also, because it's a good thing, is sell at the peak. Right now, sell at the peak and wait for the crash, because eventually it's going to crash. I'm not saying it's going to go to zero. I'm not saying it's going to nosedive down, but sell at 100. When it comes back down to 50, buy that card that you sold at 100, and now you have $50 to go buy something else. So you still have your collection, you still have your investment, and then you bought at 50, and then maybe the market will peak back up again. You can sell again, but you've made your $50. Sorry, I have to read off notes. I don't know how some of these YouTubers just ramble for 10 minutes. I can't do it. I give high praise to that. I cannot just look at a camera and continue to talk. I lose my train of thought, and I have to take breaks. So I've actually made notes with the light reflecting off me. But if we don't want to look at comics and cards from the 90s, because they're a little bit different, if we just look at Pokemon and its market and just kind of look at its timeline and include that timeline of collecting and just that market, I think this compares a lot to how Pokemon first came out in 1999, It was really big. Everyone was buying. No one was holding a sealed product, so that was different. But eventually, it crashed. Pokemon was almost not a TCG anymore. During the end of the Wizard of the Coast, people were not buying Pokemon. And if you look at the values of cards and boxes, and there is a time gap. Yes, early fossil base set, especially first division, that's a little bit first division shadowless, a little bit of outlier because those were limited to begin with and not everyone could get their hands, and kids were not buying those. But if we look at like kind of base set, I can't think of the name of it, just the regular base set shadowed cards, limited, unlimited, base set unlimited, yeah, that's the word for it. Base set unlimited on to about, I would say, Neogenesis. Neogenesis is kind of when kids my age, millennials, got a little bit too old for Pokemon. We left it and we stopped buying cards. We stopped getting so invested in Pokemon. We got a little old, got a little too cool for Pokemon. And I think there's a big difference in price. Because yes, base set, fossil, and up to like base set 2, yes, they are expensive, but they're not as pricey and hard to find, hard to get as that Neogenesis up until probably before Scarlet and Violet, maybe even a little bit before that, about that X and Y, mostly like the black and white era. Those are the eras where people, whenever Pokemon Go came out, because there's a big resurgence then too, but about that era, about black and white, people were not buying Pokemon. They weren't printing as much, people weren't buying it, and there's very limited supply. So those things, those box sets and all that, they're worth a lot of money because everyone was being afraid. So the people who were smart and were being greedy and hold on to these things, they banked big. But if you held on to like everyone thinks that they're, oh, I got a Pokemon collection, I got Charizard, I got those base set unlimited cards, they're not worth that much. But the Neo Geo and everything past that, those are worth a lot more card per card, value for value, excluding first division stuff. I mean, that's separate. That's a little bit of an outlier. Those are worth a lot more because no one was buying stuff back then. And I think we're back in that period, back the base unlimited, where everyone's buying everything. So I don't see how these card prices can maintain when everyone has it. It's not a limited supply. Everyone has these things. So who's going to want them in the future if I can just go back in my collection and find it? And that's the same thing with everyone else. Everyone can go back to their kids if their parents didn't sell it. Go back and look at their old cards and have them. They don't need to buy them again. But not everyone has that big gray black period of people weren't buying stuff. Not people have that. So that stuff's really, that vintage stuff is really valuable. People don't have it. At the end of the day, I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not the best investor. I've made mistakes, but clearly I've made some really good choices. Like I've bought this Deadpool comic because I like Deadpool for $90. Now it's worth like 600. You know, that was just luck of the draw. But, you know, if I'm wrong, go ahead and tell me in the comments how I'm wrong. I'd like to know. If I'm wrong, I want to know if I should hold on to my stuff. I don't think I should. I think it'd take a lot to convince me to hold on to it, but I think in the long run, I think right now is the best time to sell. And that's just the advice I'm giving. I mean, don't go out there and sell all it and then blame me. I'm just a dude talking who's had to redo this video probably 20 times now just to not word vomit everything and mumble over my words and, you know, stutter. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt. Do what you do. Tell me how I'm wrong in the comments below. Just keep it nice, keep it respectful and all that stuff. Because I'd like to learn some stuff too. If you got some knowledge to share with me, go ahead. That's what I guess the internet's kind of for, instead of, you know, just trolling people all the time. But it's just so silly to me. All these YouTubers now are fighting over who's the better investor and you're not an investor and you're this and you're selling for this. It just all seems so silly to me. And I feel like I've seen this before. I hate to call it, but in the comic industry, this was like the same crap that was happening when people were talking about Comic Tom and his hot 10 list and talking about, and now it's all the same stuff. It's all the same people, the same rage baiters when comic book YouTubers were really big, and now it's kind of taken a downfall. It's just like I'm reliving Groundhog Day a little bit. But it is what it is. I don't know how to end this video, so peace.